Quick question. How do you define a house? 4 walls, a roof, a place to live, sleep, and if you're lucky, make some great memories. At a glance, this Victorian mansion looks a lot like any other upper-class family home from its era. You've got your classic red brick, dramatic arched windows, and an unusually high number of chimneys. But not all houses are as they seem. Those chimneys, they're a clue about what's going on inside. In fact, this unassuming Victorian was at one point in time known as the strangest house in the world. What secrets are hiding behind these doors? What do timber, tobacco, and anatomically correct bulls have to do with this strange property? Join me as I step inside Körner's Folly, the ever-evolving vision of one man, Jewel Gilmer Körner. Painter, advertiser, interior designer, and some may say genius, Jewel managed to combine all of his talents into one unique project, this one-of-a-kind house. But it isn't really a house. It's an interior design catalog. Let's flip through a few rooms, shall we? To understand why this house is the way it is, you first need to understand the man who built it. Meet Jewel Körner. Jewel was born in Kernersville, North Carolina, 1851, and yes, the town is named after his family. Jewel was just one of his family's 11 children, and he showed an early appreciation for aesthetics and design. When he graduated high school in 1865, he continued his studies in Indiana and focused heavily on the arts. In 1872, he continued his education and apprenticed in design and interior decorating in Philadelphia, before returning to Kernersville for good after the passing of his father. And it's at this point when his folly began. By 1878, at only 27 years old, Körner started work on one of the most unique homes in the US. So why the name? Well, first, what is a folly? There are 2 definitions and both apply to this miraculous place. Depending on how you look at it, a folly can either be a costly ornamental building with no practical purpose or a foolish idea, and in Körner's case, the locals thought it was both. Local legend has it that a passerby, another Körner relative, saw the eccentric house being built and commented that surely this house would come to be known as Jewel Körner's Folly. Word got back to Jewel, but instead of being insulted, he knew good marketing when he heard it. He liked the name so much that he put it in tile right here on the front steps. At the Folly, the shopping experience started outside. In fact, the house doesn't have a front lawn. It was pushed right up against the edge of the street, just like any other storefront in the 1880s. Jewel had grand aspirations for this place. He wanted it to be a home, office, and entertaining space, but most importantly, a living, breathing catalog for his design and decorating business. At the time, most of his potential customers would have picked out furniture and home goods directly from catalogs or from advertisements in the newspaper and magazines. But this would be something completely different. Let's step inside. Oh, but before we do, don't forget to stop by the Witch's Corner. Victorians believed that money left here would prevent evil spirits from entering the home. As normal-ish as the Folly seems outside, inside is a labyrinth of custom designs and eccentric finishes. The house is just under 6,000 square feet, spread across 22 rooms and 7 different levels. It even has Victorian-era air conditioning. These hatches and grates, combined with those windows, allow cool air to circulate from underground. Another fascinating bit about the Folly is that it was never actually completed. Jewel changed things throughout the home on a regular basis and expanded it twice. The first major renovation happened in the early 1890s after Jewel married and started a family. The first big project the newlyweds undertook was the carriageway. The main entrance to the house used to be for the horses, but now it looks like this. They built new stables across the street and converted the old ones into 11 more rooms, including the foyer, dining room, breakfast room, sewing room, and library. This space is the home's smoking room. Understandably, Jewel only allowed smoking in this one room because he was terrified of burning down his masterpiece. Victorians at the time loved puffing on their pipes, and Jewel made a fortune advertising North Carolina's #1 cash crop, tobacco. Körner wasn't just a furniture salesman, he was also an accomplished marketer, and the Folly quickly gained the attention of the Blackwell Bull Durham Tobacco Company. They wanted him to make their tobacco the most well-known in the country, and Jewel knew nothing draws attention like a bit of controversy.
To make Bull Durham the best-known tobacco brand in America, he began to paint large ads of very realistic bulls, with particular attention paid below the belt, on buildings, barns, and boulders across the Southeast. These enormous proto-billboards could be as big as 12,000 square feet. For a bit of comparison, the average square footage of an ad in Times Square is a measly 2,000. He didn't have to wait long before controversy started rolling in. In fact, Jewell helped spark it himself. A true advertising showman with a knack for publicity stunts, Jewell would write fake letters to local papers to complain about those rude, anatomically correct Bull Durham tobacco ads. Then, in order to appease the fictional rabble-rousers, the company would return and make a big commotion about covering up the image by painting fence posts right in front of the bull's offending appendage. Of course, every step of this carefully crafted process just drew more and more attention to the murals, making Bull Durham the country's most well-known tobacco brand, and Jewell Körner a very wealthy advertising executive. During the Gilded Age in America, wealthy Victorians were building their stunning new houses with all the latest architectural trends. The concept of the Folly was for customers to wander around and mix and match their favorite elements throughout the house. If you shopped at the Folly, you could guarantee your entertaining space would be one of a kind. Nearly all of the decorative features of this catalog house were designed by Körner himself. He loved painting, and there were murals anywhere he could stick them. Sneaking a little bit of beauty and art into the most practical places was a Körner specialty. There's about 10,000 feet of molding on the wainscoting, and it was all created by local craftsmen. Victorian social life was a little bit different from ours, and the furnishings you could buy spoke to that reality. Large reception rooms like this were used for parties, and you could add a little privacy to your kissing corners with some carefully placed draperies. In the center of the home, a huge spiral staircase shoots up 100 feet, inducing vertigo for anyone that dares look down. Throughout the home, you won't find a single doorway or window that is exactly like another. Some ceilings are a looming 25 feet tall, while others are only 5.5 feet tall. The Körners also raised a family at the Folly. 2 kids grew up in this imaginative place. The Körner's son, Gilmer, and daughter, Dore, were both privately educated here. Their schoolroom is right down the hall this way. It was built to scale for a child, including a 5'5" ceiling. This must have been a blast for the kids, but I can't say the same for their tutor. Okay, so confession, I'm only 5'4". Why don't we get one of our camera guys? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Just
sure.
for scale.
Oh.
You okay?
I mean, my shoulder's touching the ceiling.
The stairs are worth the climb because the top floor is really amazing. Whew. Can we kick on that Victorian era air conditioning? You guys, get up here. This place is so magical. You can feel the theatrical energy building as you climb the stairs. The eponymous cupids flying around up here are all real frescoes, painted directly onto wet plaster. It's so easy to imagine the hubbub of a production getting ready, complete with an orchestra warming up in the pit. They have a pit. Jewell and his wife Alice had many common interests, especially a deep love of arts, music, and culture. They were very fervent local supporters of all three, and this full-size theater on the home's 3rd floor is a big part of their legacy. The second major Folly renovation happened in 1908, after both children graduated from college. There was a week-long house party to celebrate their accomplishments, as well as show off yet another revamping of the house. The family spent $17,000 on renovations, over $400,000 today. Throughout Jewell's life, Körner's Folly was constantly changing and evolving. Rooms were in an endless cycle of renovations. Murals were painted and repainted countless times. He was such a big believer in change that it's possible the Folly was never exactly the same inside on any 2 days. I'm standing in Jewell's library, the place where he dreamt up his designs for the Folly. The Folly turned out just as Jewell wanted it to be. In fact, it was so successful in its time, he was presented with opportunities to sell and leave, but he never took them. Bull Durham promoted him and promised he'd be a millionaire if he moved with their headquarters to New York City, but he steps down and he continued work on the Folly. Unsurprisingly, Jewell was considered a bit of an eccentric, a perfectionist who was open to change, a salesman who loved art, and someone with a vision determined to make it a reality. As his epitaph reads, Körner loved life and the beautiful things therein. To him, Art and music were human expressions of the divine. There's no doubt Jules Körner was a man with a vision, and the drive to make his living space as unique as he was. We can't all be master artists and designers like Jules, but it's hard not to take some inspiration from his hard work and long-term vision. You may not have a catalog house with trapdoors in mind, but everyone's home dreams are unique and worth pursuing. After all, if it isn't your dream house, it can't be your dream home. Make yours a reality today by downloading the Rocket Homes app.